Just a quick word before this episode starts. This one has one of the more surprising blind reveals that I've had in a while. So just wanted to shout that out beforehand. And it's one that, I actually had some time to chew on after. And it's interesting, and it does make me increase my respect for one of these teas. And it's one that at the end of the episode I'm kind of murmuring about just because I'm so kind of surprised by the reveal that I feel like I didn't, fully necessarily communicate very well. But yeah, definitely watch the rest of this episode, and you will definitely see towards the end of this episode when I actually do reveal the teas that I'm almost just a little bit I'm put off my usual rhythm of it. And so, yeah, it's one that I hope to revisit again in the future. It's also one where I have a theory of what happened a little bit, where I think one of the teas was a little bit slower to unroll. And so one of the teas that is a little more explosive right out the gate, I think, managed to kind of capture my interest a little bit more. So those are just some theories that I'm working off of. And, enjoy the rest of the episode. Hey everyone, this is Jane from TDB, bringing you another in-between episode. Today I am going to be talking about 3 different Bulang teas from the mid to late 2000s. And this is one of those where I was like, why not do one comparison? And I was like, well, there's kind of this third tea I wanted to do. So we're just deciding to do them all on this one. So the 3 different teas, one of them is particularly well known. The other ones are not unknown teas by any means. But the first one is the Nanqiao Double Lions, the 502 batch from 2005. This is Malaysian stored, so kind of the standard classic. I did a big Bulang drink through in 2025, so last year. I'm recording this at the end of 2025. And in that time, I drank through something like almost 50, maybe not quite 50 explicitly Bulang teas. And so Double Lions is one of kind of like the ones that most people know. And after drinking through everything, I can kind of say that it does stand out quite a bit compared to some of the other ones. Not to say that it has a totally different style, just that it is kind of the loudest, the most potent within that certain style of tea. And so I kind of had thought for years that maybe it was a little bit overpriced for what it was, and I've kind of come to, respect it a little bit more, certainly as a tea. Probably not a tea I'm ever going to be drinking all the time, but definitely one that is very has become more and more drinkable as time has passed. So the other 2 in my drink through I didn't like quite as much, but I felt like they were stylistically pretty similar to the Double Lion, so I thought it'd be interesting to toss them in a blind. All these teas I've had 2 to 4 times. It's certainly possible that I'll be able to sniff out the blinds pretty quickly. So what are the other 2? Well, the other one is the 2006 Dayi 7742. This is a recipe that they made in 2005, 2006, and 2007, and a little bit later than that as well, like 2011 or something like that. But they made it in these 3 consecutive years, and they kind of go down in terms of price as it goes. The 2005 is particularly expensive. 2006 is still a couple $100, and the 2007 is under half the price of the 2006. But it's basically a blend that is supposedly Bulang, and it also supposedly uses aged Malcha. You would think on its surface that 7742 is a very similar recipe to 7542. They both have kind of that grade 4 leaf in terms of size, but they are actually, they are actually fairly different when you kind of get down into comparison. The last tea is a 2008 Liming Yayun tea. This is sold by Quiche/Taishan He, but it also pops up a number of places. Liming is actually, I believe, the only state-run factory, not a frequent appearer in TDB. In fact, this might actually be the first appearance of Liming here, and frankly, they do quite a lot of tea. A lot of it is, frankly, not too interesting. This one, I think, is intended to be a little bit of a higher-end brand. They have a line called Bajiao Ting, I think, that is a little bit higher end. This is part of that. So this tea, MX sold it. It is now, I believe, gone there, but it sold for about $100 there. And yeah, I liked all 3 of these teas a fair bit. I would say my initial thought is that the double lines will stand out a bit above them, but we will see, and that's why we do these comparisons here. The limbing was bought from MX, so a mainland vendor. The 2006 7742 was bought from Mr. Jin, who is a Taiwanese-based vendor, so presumably at least had some Taiwanese storage there. And the Malaysia double line was from LP, where it has some Malaysian storage. So let's get into the tasting. An experiment like this really does help to parse out specific differences between the teas. So while I said they all present similarly, one might think that they're very similar teas, especially if you have them like a week apart or whatnot. But having them so consecutively like this helps to just really understand that. 2005 to 2008, when these teas were made, is a very interesting time for pu'er, where it's changing quite a bit constantly. The mid-2000s are just kind of a wild time. I mean, I guess really the last 30 years of pu'er has been quite dramatic in terms of what's going on. But you do see kind of a lot of these kind of, not sure if they're properly old school, but factory-ish productions. They might not be quite the same as the 90s, but they are still kind of have this old school mentality to it. And that's what I like about a lot of these Bulangs, is a lot of these are pretty upfront about the smokiness. And in my opinion, at least at this point, these teas being 17 to 20 years old, they've entered a fairly pleasant phase as far as that goes. So anyways, I'm starting right to left. I'm going to take a sniff of this as well. Smoky, woody incense. You're going to hear those words a lot as this tasting goes on. We're going to do our best to contrast that so not everything sounds exactly the same. Nice oily body. Definitely very upfront about the smoke. Definitely like kind of some barbecue-ish wood, pine smoke. But, the smokiness is very inherently different from something like Shagwan. It's backed with a lot of sweetness behind it as well. To me, that does not cross me as the double lines. Let's see what this next one has to bring. This one smells a bit Malaysian to me, so that one might be the double lines if I had to guess on the initial smell. It definitely has that incense woody smell. I'd say it's a little bit deeper and a little bit darker as far as just the sniffs go. Ooh, yeah, that's got a big mouthfeel to it, big texture, big body. I said this one is oily. This one's even thicker. By a fair margin, honestly. Thicker, oilier. I'm actually supposed to be filming a double lions comparison with Denny. He got sick. We were supposed to do it last week, so I wanted to do it before this. But we're comparing some like 5 double lions. That episode at this point is probably already out, or it hasn't happened. Depending on if Denny got better or not. But definitely check that one out to see how the double lions compare with themselves. I'm really curious about just kind of the difference between 501, 502, the 2006s. But big mouthfeel on this. Big texture, big body. Yeah, it kind of has more of an aromatic wood note to it, too. Overall, it's just a richer tea than the tea on the far right. Okay, and here we have the tea on the left. You know, it's kind of like the other two combined, but perhaps the least popping of the 3 aromas. It doesn't mean everything, but that's what the initial take says. You know, this one is less smoke forward than the other ones. Less incense, but it also has more of this wood resin feel to it that is also very old school, but is not quite as present in these other 2 teas. Interesting. I don't hate it, actually. I don't mind it at all. Yeah, not quite as thick. I would definitely say that the tea in the middle is very impressive in its its overall loudness and its bigness to it. And that's one reason why I very much suspect that's still Bulangs. These other two, I might go either way. I would maybe lean towards this one on the right, being the 7742, while this 2008 Liming, this one being the Liming Yayun. But I'm not confident in that. And again, I haven't had those teas too much, so yeah. This one has maybe a little more perfume, a little bit higher nose. Interesting. I could see that going the other way too. Okay, how to do this? Let's start. Let's do the tea on the ends first, and then we will go to the middle tea. The problem with coming after the middle tea is you're just going to be a little bit, I don't know, it's so loud that it's going to make everything else seem kind of softer in comparison. Okay, I'll brew all of these, but we will go left, and then to the far right, and then to the middle. You can see that this one on the left is opening up nicely there. And I will say I would drink all three of these teas, at least in my experience so far with them. They're definitely like teas that cumulatively have nicely coated the mouth. When we're brewing these side by side like this, you're definitely getting kind of more surface level comparisons. The aftertaste and stuff like that is even sometimes a little bit difficult to suss out. So there's definitely a case to be made to do one tea, have it for a few steeps, and then move on. Okay, so anyways, we at some point I might switch that and see how I like that as far as that goes. That tends to be actually the natural flow of progression when you have tea with someone else, is you'll have one for a few steeps and then maybe you want to compare it, so you'll pull out something else. You're less concerned about comparing steep 2 to steep 2 of another one. But I don't know how I ended up on this format, but I did, so... I would say this one's the most kind of like simplified of them. It feels a little bit less rich, a little bit more just kind of grounded in these just very puerish flavors. Cheers. It's got a good thick body. It's very woody. It's a bit smoky, it's a bit incensey, but it's not quite as smoky as either of the other teas, and it's not quite as incensey as, in particular, this tea in the middle. It's nice, though. It's not bad, and it hints at some, like, fruit taste to it, maybe, like, a little bit of peach brightness to it. Some, like, kind of retired tobacco resin to it. It's interesting because I feel like this tea on its own would probably come across much smokier than it's presenting now, and I do get a little bit of smoke, but it's not as prevalent. Let's take a sniff of this guy. Very just in that pine wood smoke thing. This is definitely would have been an extremely smoky tea when it was younger. It still is quite a smoky tea. Cheers. Yeah, sweet pine smoke to this. I really like this, actually. It has, like, this very nice kind of barbecue aroma to it. I think it's the smokiest of the three teas. But it's done in such a pleasant way. I mean, I'm not someone... Sometimes I think people will kind of associate the smokiness with, like, these young factory shung, which are just kind of nasty anyways. But when you have a smokiness that's well integrated into a tea, it can be really, really pleasant. And I think this is a good example of something like that. And here we go. The number one suspect for being the double line. Cheers. Yeah, it's just big, it's thick, it's incensey. It also has like, it's just also softened just to a point where it's pretty drinkable, honestly. When I first had this tea, which probably would have been 7, 8 years ago, it was just way too strong. And I think for me, the tea has changed. My tastes have changed a bit too. I think I veer a little bit more towards teas like this these days, fitting nicely into my rotation. Very sweaty tea. Okay, we are going to do another round of steeps. One thing I usually will do with these is I will try to I'll drink the tea that most stood out of a session. So far, I guess it's the double lines, but I'm really enjoying these other two teas too. So let's get going to the next brew. Okay, so I want to record another episode today, so I'm going to probably call it after this steep, but I'm going to start here. Maybe I'll do one more, but we'll see. I'm going to start here with the middle one, and then I'm going to reveal that tea, and we will see if indeed I'm correct, and this is the double line. If so, it was fairly clear. Anyways, I'll talk more about that. Really? Okay. And I'm starting to wonder if I mixed up these tints. This is the Liming. Yeah, the Yayun. Did I mix up these tints? Well, that's not good if I did. Okay. So, yeah, the Yayun, just really thick. Really rich. Interesting. I'm going to have to redo this at some point and just kind of take note of these teas. If so, I mean, that Liming really has caught my attention. Okay. I mean, now that I know the reveal, so this being the double lines, okay. I mean, I can see it, and it just kind of shows you the power of suggestion, too. Okay, well, noted. So I was correct about the Dayi. The Dayi was indeed this tea on the right. So really smoky note. I really thought that the middle one was the double lines. So I'm going to actually do another round now, because now I am really curious about these teas. This is a very nice showing for the Liming, I gotta say. I do like all three of them. Yeah, very, this one's just like sweet barbecue, pine smoke, really pleasant. They're all pretty sweaty. I'm definitely getting nice and sweaty here. This one crosses me as just more kind of, I wonder if austere is the right word. I mean, now it does kind of smell like the double lines, but that's after I have revealed it to myself. Okay. Well, let me heat up this water once more, see if I have enough. And I want to compare. So it turns out that this is the odd man out in the sense that I could sniff who that was, but the Liming had confused me. So, that says something that, maybe that this tea is pretty high quality. I'm definitely going to have to study this more. So one of the nice things about this is, not to be taken too loftily, because, I could be off. Maybe something led me a little bit awry early in the steeps. But, that's the nice thing about a blind tasting, I suppose. Very surprised. Okay, so going to stick with these two. Brew these for just a little bit longer here. So, yeah, the Liming, pretty nice tea. All right. Okay, so let's take a smell here. Really does smell very rich. I mean, it smells richer than the double lion. Very interesting. Well, maybe similar at this point. Yeah, so yeah, here is the liming here. And I really want to compare the bigness and the body of these teas. Perhaps the double lion needed a little bit of time to just kind of decompress and come to. It's nice. Yeah, just really burly, woody, smoky. Really heavy on the incense. Yeah, that's not a bad tea whatsoever. Okay, so if this is right, the A should be the liming. Okay, and B is double lions. Yep. So, yep. This is the double lions that I'm about to have here. Cheers. So unfortunately, the liming is something that did sell out, but it's something that I'm going to keep my eye on because it's definitely a decent profile, and I think does a decent imitation of those teas. And I don't know, this session could be an outlier. We will see. But I think I might add the liming back into the docket to do another episode on. And definitely one that I'm going to go back into the lab and study a bit more. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Let me know how you found this episode. Definitely a little bit of surprise. I think this is the first blind tasting. Not that I've gotten wrong. I've gotten some of the others wrong. But the one that I've been the most surprised that I got wrong. So thank you all for tuning in. I will see you all next time. Cheers.